right, everyone, welcome to Chart Attack, and this is Vishal from Equity Guru. And today we're going to do a whole macro video here. We're going to talk about today the Fed, well, their FOMC minutes, which came out, and they mentioned that they could begin their gradual tapering process by mid-November, which would see a tapering process which could see a monthly reduction of $10 billion in treasuries and $5 billion in mortgage-backed securities. And I believe, the Fed is buying at least 120 billion a month currently. Yes, they are. The Fed is currently buying at least 80 billion in treasuries and 40 billion in MBS. So that 80 billion will go down to 70 billion. And then in terms of mortgage-backed securities, that's going to go to 35 billion. So still, a pretty decent amount of money for tapering. A lot of talk about the taper tantrum. A lot of people thought that if the Fed mentions tapering, that will cause the markets to drop, because there's a group of people that do believe that the only reasons that the markets have gone up is because of Fed monetary policy and the cheap money policy. So it's going to be interesting, right, as we head into mid-November. And of course, things could change, right? It's just the FOMC minutes. We got to hear it from Powell himself. But it's all about the employment data and the inflation data. And, the inflation came out higher than expected. Unemployment rate dropped from 5.1% to 4.8%. So, the pressure is leaning on some sort of tapering process to begin. But again, how large that's going to happen, we'll have to wait and see. But just a 4-hour chart here on the S&P 500. Again, just not really much happening this week here. We've just been ranging between 43.70 here and 43.36, let's call it. We are watching or waiting to see if we break out, but market not really reacting much to the tapering news. But I think personally, folks, the real action is in the US dollar and in the bond market. So I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian here. And I'm going to say that even though the Fed is talking about gradually beginning tapering, and again, this is in the FOMC minutes, but the market's not buying it. In fact, the market's actually calling the Fed's bluff. Why? Because the US dollar is actually declining today. And if the market was expecting the Fed to actually taper, you would have seen the dollar actually pop higher. Right, a higher dollar on the tapering process. And then more importantly, if we look at the 10-year yield and TLT, TLT here, the 10-year yield actually declined, which means that money went into TLT. So money went into bonds, which caused the yield to drop. But think of it this way, right? If you're holding bonds right now, if you're holding a TLT position, and I know as I say this, we're actually at a resistance zone here on bonds. But if you're holding bonds and you expect the Fed is going to taper, that means you're going to see the Fed sell their bonds, right? Sell off bonds. So you don't really want to hold on to them if you know that the Fed is going to be dumping bonds every month. So we would expect to see TLT actually drop if the market believes the Fed is going to taper, but we did not see that. So TLT, 10-year yield combined together, plus the move in the US dollar is indicating that the market is not buying this whole gradual tapering process by mid-November. The market believes that the Fed's going to continue tapering, and perhaps the Fed will even move the goalposts further down the road. But an interesting day today on Wall Street. And again, folks, watch that dollar chart and watch bond markets, the 10-year treasury or TLT. I think those are two of the most important charts, macro charts to keep your eyes on. And of course, if you follow my work on Equity Guru, you guys know that I've said that TLT chart and the dollar chart on the weekly are two of the most important macro charts out there. So going to be an interesting few weeks to see what happens as we head closer to mid-November and the Fed press conference and rate decision this month. But yeah, that's it for me, folks. Be sure, again, to follow us on all our social media links, which are in the description box below. My articles are up on Equity Guru, Market Moment. You can read about markets and the dollar and bonds to your heart's content. If you are someone that wants live data or up-to-date data, um, join us in our Discord group. Link is in the description box below, where we talk, or where I talk about markets and charts every single day. But more importantly, folks, I want to know what you guys think about this tapering process. Do you think the Fed is stuck? Do you think they will not taper because they're afraid of a taper tantrum, which will bring the stock market down? Which means, if you think the opposite, that they're not going to taper, we've probably found a bottom here in the markets, and we're going to rise higher as the dollar declines lower on, basically the market calling the bluff, or calling the Fed's bluff, and not expecting any major or serious change in policy come November. A lot of stuff to discuss, but that's why I love these markets, and I want to hear your guys' opinions on the movement in the dollar, the movement in bonds, and the Fed gradual, or are they not going to taper ever? Let me know in the comments below, folks, and I will catch you all in the next one.